The hypocritical Albanese government really does hate Israel, doesn't it? It's acting like a Greta Thunberg and has now hit 2 Israeli ministers with sanctions. But I want to know why. Why this is in Australia's interest, to act like useful idiots of radical Islam and to anger democratic allies like Israel and the US. Our government is sanctioning Israel's National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, and its Finance Minister, Bezalel Smotrich, for allegedly inciting violence against his Palestinians in the West Bank and creating new Israeli settlements there, supposedly imperiling long-term stability in the region.
We are concerned alongside the United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, Norway and others about the unlawful and violent settlement enterprise in the West Bank that is not consistent with 2 states. We believe, like the international community and our partners, that 2 states is the best chance for peace in the Middle East and peace and security for Israelis.
The 2 ministers face travel restrictions and the freezing of assets, and Israel's foreign minister is furious.
It is outrageous that elected representatives and members of the government are subjected to this kind of measures.
We've also infuriated the Trump administration. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the United States condemns the sanctions imposed by the governments of United Kingdom, Canada, Norway, New Zealand and Australia on 2 sitting members of the Israeli cabinet. These sanctions do not advance US-led efforts to achieve a ceasefire, bring all the hostages home and end the war. And Rubio went on, we remind our partners not to forget who the real enemy is. Excellent advice. But this government seems out of control now with its attacks on Israel. I mean, it's banned last week on American tech blogger Hillel Fuld. That was outrageous enough. Fuld was just coming to Australia to raise money for Israel's version of the Red Cross, but was banned for disputing unproven claims by the Hamas terrorist group that Israeli soldiers last year slaughtered 112 Palestinians waiting for food. The government also accused them of Islamophobia for a post in which he correctly noted that most Palestinians had backed the October 7 massacre of Jews. Now, let me admit that these 2 Israeli ministers, now being sanctioned, they are loud-mouthed ratbags of Israel's far right. Smotrich, for instance, said last year that starving the 2 million Palestinians in Gaza might, he said, and I'm quoting, be justified and moral in order to free the hostages. The hostages still held by Hamas, although Israel does continue to send Gaza truckloads of food. And Smotrich, 2 weeks ago, also approved 22 new West Bank settlements, claiming this would avoid the establishment of a Palestinian state. But Ben-Gvir is worse. He's a river to the sea guy, except he means the whole area from the Mediterranean to the Jordan River should be Israel, not Palestine. He last month called for the destruction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque built in Jerusalem on the ruins of the great Second Temple of Jewish kings, and he called for Jews to take back Gaza from the Palestinians. All of it.
אנחנו כובשים את ארץ ישראל! אנחנו משחררים את עזה! אנחנו מיישבים את עזה!
Well, that's sure the way to guarantee another century of war, that idiot. Yet Israeli voters and Israel's justice system can be trusted to put Smotrich back in his place. I mean, very few people vote for him as it is, and has already been convicted several times of racist incitement. Still, it's so very unhelpful, these guys, to say the very least. But again, what is sanctioning them? How is it in Australia's interests? In fact, showboating against them could cost us. Most importantly, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has again provoked the United States, our only real protector in a future war. The US 2 weeks ago asked us to spend more on our defence. Albanese refused. Its ambassador to Israel then asked us to lift our ban on Hillel Fuld. Again, Albanese refused. And now this. Now, I get it, the US cannot be dictating our policies, but it can decide whether we're a country worth giving, let's say, a couple of its rare nuclear submarines. But what really gets me here is the hypocrisy, which does expose this as an anti-Israel kind of posturing. For instance, why does this government sanction 2 ministers from one of our democratic allies, but never dreams of sanctioning any minister from the hostile Chinese dictatorship? Like, for instance, for jailing 1 million Muslim Uyghurs? And if people demanding all the land from the river to the sea must be punished, why did Foreign Minister Penny Wong post pictures of herself supporting Nasser Mashni, head of the Australian Palestine Advocacy Network, who insists it's time for Palestine to be free from the river to the sea, and that means no Israel? And if supposedly inciting violence is a crime, why has Wong not sanctioned Mahmoud Abbas, president of the Palestinian Authority that's in the West Bank, who still runs a pay-for-slay scheme of pensions for terrorists and their families? And if trash talking that makes peace less likely deserves sanctions, why hasn't Wong also imposed sanctions on President Abbas for defending Hitler's genocide of 6 million Jews?
وقال إنه اليهود حارب اليهود لأنهم كانوا يعملون على أساس إنه لا سامية والسامية لا توجد هنا.
The hypocrisy here is absolutely astonishing, and so is the Prime Minister's lack of awareness of his own government's double standards. Albanese today shrugged off Rubio's criticism of these sanctions like this.
Australia makes her own decisions based upon the assessments that we make.
But isn't that Israel's argument exactly? It says it's a sovereign democracy too, isn't it? Making its own decisions in its own national interest. So why are Albanese and Penny Wong interfering, imposing useless sanctions which can only anger our friends and embolden our enemies?